Hi, this is Steve Codet again. This is Module 3 that you'll be receiving that are pre-recorded. This is about the 8 most impressionable moments in a house, actually in any environment. And when I teach somebody to sell a house, we stress these 8 impressionable moments, or 8 tests. But you'll find out that even if you are staying, these 8 places in a house, or 8 situations, really are very important for creating a situation where you feel really good, really comfortable all the time. Now, the first test, or first impression, the curb appeal. And we're going to be spending a lot of time on that. So I'm just going to right now introduce all 8 of the impressionable moments for you. And again, I want to make sure you understand that we're going to be covering each one of these in depth. The second one is the walk up to the front entrance. And a lot of folks think that this is not a terribly important thing, but it really does stoke somebody's enthusiasm about a place, a business, and it really can be very, very important for getting that particular individual to feel very good about something. The entrance is pivotal in feng shui, as you'll find out. And again, we're going to spend a lot of time on how to make sure that the entrance comes off as very attracting. The fourth impressional moment or test is the foyer, when you first walk in that door. The next one is the room of first impression. Now, the room of first impression can be to the left, it can be to the right, it could even be straight ahead. The next one is the flow, and we've already started talking about the idea of the flow. So how easy is it for somebody to access the whole environment? How easy is it for somebody to walk through? The next one is the kitchen. And that and this last one, which is the master bedroom, are the 2 most important rooms in any home, according to feng shui. And again, we'll be spending a lot of time in making sure that you feel really good about how to take care of both of those particular situations. Now, curb appeal, you can think of it as the first and last impression when somebody is coming or going, including yourself. It increases enthusiasm or not. And that, again, is for yourself. You might be living there and not selling. When you pull up to a house that is really well handled outside, it does create a sense of pride and a feeling of great appreciation. The curb appeal of feng shui sort of is a little different. You'll be using a special tool that gives you valuable information called the bagua. We'll be spending a lot of time on that particular tool. It divides the front yard up into particular sections for you that need to be enhanced. It tells us where the best place is to put a real estate sign if you are actually selling. And it helps immensely in deciding on what particular colors to use in the front yard, and actually even in the back door. Now, the walk to the front door can be exciting, it can be interesting, or it can be none of those. So you can lose or gain interest quite a bit. So you want to maintain somebody's enthusiasm. If you're selling, somebody's pulling up to the house, they think the curb appeal looks great, don't disappoint them at this point from the walk to the front door. And you'll be hearing the word contrast a great deal from myself, as it's an extremely important idea with how you show off anything, whether it's inside or outside. That short walk can mean so much to how you feel about a particular environment. The best idea for the walk is to make it somewhat curvy. And I'll tell you why and how to go about doing it, even if you have a sidewalk that is not. It's just a straight sidewalk. You want to frame it with some color and some contrast. And again, we'll show you how to do that. Here's a slide that you're going to see again. So it actually gives you some of the colors that you might want to consider using in particular locations in the front yard. The next test or impressionable moment is the entrance or the front door. In feng shui, the front door is called the mouth of qi. And a lot of first impressions are happening right here. In feng shui, the main entrance or the front door is the main place for receiving and attracting nourishing energy or qi into an environment. It's very important that we handle it correctly. Now, the architect or the builder, whatever house or apartment or business, when they put it together, they considered what was the main entrance. So no matter if you decide to drive into a garage and shut the garage door behind you and enter that way, it doesn't take away what the main entrance actually is. Again, it's the primary entrance of qi or energy that enters the house. And we need to learn how to make it gorgeous and very welcoming. Of course, there's not going to be any clutter. And we're going to spend time on how to frame the door with pots of plants. And we're going to talk about things like whether the door squeaks or is difficult to open, because these can really give a negative impression. We talk about door color. And we also talk about making sure the hardware matches and is polished. I always like to frame a door or an entrance from the outside in with two black rounded pots of flowers. And there's a particular trick to framing the door to make sure that the entrance seems larger and grander. The two colors that I like to really use are reds and yellows, as those are the two colors that are the most attracting to a human being. But you also want to take the exterior color into account. If the house is blue, we're going to be choosing a color that has more contrast to it, yellow. If the house is brick, we'll probably be picking yellow too, because the red flowers would actually blend in too easily. Here's an example of the framing of the pots of flowers at an entrance. The wider apart, the grander the entrance, and the more impressive to a visitor or to the qi that we've been attracting to the environment. So the further apart, even though it's very, very subtle, makes it come across as more grander. So things to consider, especially when selling. The potential buyer actually spends several minutes here. They also have this as one of their last impressions. We want to make the front door freshly painted. The hardware needs to match and shine. A lot of people don't take it. They just sort of disregard it, but it needs to be proportional to the door, and it needs to be in great shape. So buying a new one sometimes is the best thing to do when you're trying to sell a house. Certainly needs to be swept and no cobwebs are showing. We need to have easy access to it. We don't need to walk around things, so it can't be cluttered. It needs to be very well lit. Make sure those lanterns work. And often I actually have my clients, when they're selling, keep the lights or the lanterns on even during the day. The foyer, which is the first time that a person walks into a house, gives them a chance to look around. This is their first impression in the interior. And there are certain colors and smells and everything that we need to consider here in the foyer. It's a great place for a mirror, and you're going to find out why we put a mirror in this location. We need to make sure it's easy to move through with no clutter. And if they do focus right away to the back, we need to correct that situation. And again, the aroma or the smell is very important when they first enter a house. But this is true even if you are staying. That first impression of your visitor is very, very important. The room of first impression, once again, can happen to the left or to the right or straight ahead. This is sort of where the tour of the house begins if you're selling. But we want to make sure that it's very balanced and harmonious, and you're going to learn how to do that with every one of the rooms in your house or in your business. It sets the tone, that room of first impression. It helps direct the incoming energy. And if you're not getting the energy or the chi to all parts of the house, you're really hurting yourself. Sometimes you walk into a room in a house and you don't know why that room actually feels different or coming across as being maybe even somewhat threatening or negative. That's because the chi or the energy is not getting there. Now the flow is a very important part outside and inside. We need to make sure that the visitor or the buyer feels very comfortable when they're walking through. Not worrying about possibly hitting something with their shin or with their head or whatever. We want to make sure that it's very accessible. They can walk to very intriguing and exciting ideas in that room, whether it's a view or a fireplace or maybe to just gaze at a beautiful painting. So flow problems are really something that hurts the feeling of a particular environment, but it also can stagnate our chi. You need to make it easy to walk through, and some of these rooms are not. Now the top right-hand picture, I think you can see that it's not that easy to sit in some of these couches. The coffee table is a little bit too close, for example. There is a problem even getting to the back of this particular house. The dining room situation on the top or in the bottom left, you'll find out that I consider there to be too many chairs in this situation if you're trying to sell it. There's just too much. They're too close to each other. And the picture on the bottom right is not too bad, but it's very difficult to get to that sliding glass door behind the one love seat. So you want to make sure that a person can do these things and enjoy the whole environment. In the kitchen, in feng shui, it represents the wealth of the family. It also impacts the entire family's health. Very, very important part of a house. And nowadays, it's actually a gathering place. So when you're selling a home, the kitchen is very pivotal for a lot of reasons. Even if the person who's buying the house doesn't even know how to cook, this is an area that needs to come off as spectacular, very comfortable, and very, very healthy. The hand picture certainly does not give that impression at all. So the kitchen feng shui impacts the family in a lot of ways. Again, the health, the wealth, and you'll find out that when we start working with something called the 5 elements, which actually create the balance in an environment, most kitchens have a good balance of the 5 elements. These two kitchens actually do not. They're missing some of the 5 elements. So when we get into the 5 elements, you'll be able to pick out what is missing and why it seems like it's missing. The master bedroom needs to come across as a sanctuary. Nowadays, everybody is searching for a place to be able to get away from the rat race, restore their energy, and get ready for the next day. We need to separate it from the rest of the house in certain ways, including, believe it or not, even the aroma, the smell. We want it to come across to someplace very special. And we'll go through that step by step to make sure that your master bedroom shows its very, very best. So it's important for their physical and mental health that it comes across to some place that they feel comfortable, very secure, and that it fulfills all of their needs. So if the master bedroom doesn't show its best, I promise you that it will stop the interest of most potential home buyers. A bedroom, of course, is our personal space. So if you're staying, you need to make sure that it comes across as very, very special. And we'll get into that in great depth. So the 8 impressionable moments that we've just talked about, they greatly help the attraction. It promotes pride of the individual who lives there. It distributes the chi, or the energy, really well. And a home like this also encourages everybody's success. So you want to follow enhancing these 8 most impressionable moments, even if you are staying or if you are selling this particular home. Very important that we go through these 8 tests and you feel very comfortable with it. All right, so that is the end of Module 3. I will see you in a little bit in Module 4.